Leading live on your radio. Here we go, man.
Uh,
Just to hear. Thank you, AJ. It wouldn't be right if we didn't have the AJ in there. You know what little kids do that, AJ? When they imitate our song, they'll. Because sometimes parents will send me their kids
mm-hmm.
in a car imitating the show open, and inevitably one of the kids in the back seat will go. It's like, and James Brown thought he owned that gimmick. Leading live on the radio. See, that's how they do it.
Come on.
Leading live on the radio. All right, y'all. We're starting a little loose today. We got big old stories. You doing all right, AJ? We're in separate studios, so I have to check in with my
Oh,
brother
yeah.
over
I'm
here,
too
see
blessed to be
what's
depressed, man. I'm good.
happening. All right, good. Cool this week, man. It was a lot cooler outside today. It's going to be that way the rest of the week. Cold front on Friday. Possible frost Saturday morning. Then we get back to real deal spring, I think. Easing into it this year. Two big stories as we get cranked up this hour. Before we do anything else, let me just open up with Michelson Laser Vision. I am telling you, look at me. If you can see me on the camera, look at me. I got no glasses on. There were 30-something years of my life I had to have on contacts or some kind of glasses, or I couldn't see. You see my coffee mug? I couldn't see that far in front of my face. I mean, I just couldn't. And I thought I was okay. I had convinced myself that was kind of extreme. I didn't need surgery. My glasses were fine. I even thought some of my frames looked good. I thought, oh, my glasses look okay. But it ain't about that. It's your life, man. It's getting up and being able to see when you get out of bed. It's not missing things off in the distance if your glasses aren't square. Or if it rains. You know how it is when it rains? It used to get on my glasses. Oh, that used to drive me crazy. You have to take them off and clean them. Man, that's out of your life. The contacts, the solutions, changing them, going every year and get an update on your prescription and all these things. I haven't dealt with that in almost 7 years, and it's been amazing. I'm 2015, and I wouldn't have done it if I didn't trust the complete expertise at MichelsonLaserVision.com. Michelson Laser Vision, downtown UAB Highlands. You'll see sometimes discount places or pop-up places or other people that claim to do this. This is the practice that brought the laser to Alabama. This is the practice that'll take care of you up and down the road for all your future eye stuff. And once you get to know the Michelson family and their whole team, I mean, it really is, that whole team there's just, I just think the world of them. MichelsonLaserVision.com. Michelson Laser Vision, downtown UAB Highlands. Dr. Mark, Dr. Jennifer, MichelsonLaserVision.com. All right, the two big stories are Iran, and there was just I think there was a development on Iran that we didn't, the president just did a news conference at Q&A. I think Andrew covered some of that, and he dropped a little nugget in there that made my eye, I was like The Rock. One of my eyebrows just kind of went up like this right here. I was like, what was that? And so we're going to dig into that in a little bit. People are trying to interpret what he was hinting at, and it seems big. I mean, he bloviates, he brags, he is the king of hyperbole, but most of the time he's right. I mean that. When he drops hints, he'll drive the media crazy, and then they go around spending all their time trying to disprove him, and then they're always wrong. I mean, for example, we'll just talk about this for a minute. So a couple of days ago, he said, hey, we're in talks with the Iranians, and that stabilized the markets. The oil price kind of settled down, actually dropped quite a bit because it looked like the beginning of the end. They just want some certainty that the flow will open back up. And we've watched that all day today. It's kind of, the markets are kind of even right now. They've been that way most of the day. And so CNN spent an entire day yesterday trying to say the president's not talking to the Iranians. Why? They deny it. Remember, this is the network that the Iranians let into the country. They only let propagandists into their country to do live shots and pretend like there wasn't anything bad happening on the ground. They have fronted, and by the way, they're going to be mass firings at CNN this week. They're in trouble. Some big names are going to be let go, it seems, and good, because they got to revamp that whole brand. They just got to kill it. So they spent the whole day, and then they had to put Wolf Blitzer on and correct all that, and because they found out the president was actually correct. What's happened is because of all the deaths, the Iranian government has been factionalized. It's cut into 2 or 3 pieces. Nobody knows who's exactly in charge. Some people that had slivers of power before are now claiming to be in charge. Now, that could get chaotic because you don't want to leave a civil war behind, but it doesn't seem like that. You've got some people that were much lower on the food chain, on the totem pole, so to speak, in their government that now can assume some mantle of authority with people that believe in them, and they don't want to be killed. And they want out of it more than they want to get 72 virgins right now and die for the cause. So they're starting to talk. And the president, what he hinted at today, let me just dig into this. I was going to go to the airport story, but let me dig into this first because it's really the most breaking kind of story. So the president had a swearing in ceremony in the Oval Office with Mark Wayne Mullen. He's now your Homeland Security Director, and he is in the job and will be taking over immediately. There's a lot going on, and in that he was taking questions in the Oval, and many questions, of course, as you would expect, about Iran. And so, in doing so, he dropped a hint that yes, we're talking, and he's not. Here's the thing: he's not telling the media who we're talking to, thus leading some of them to say, "Well, he's making it up." Why would he tell them who we're talking to? They don't have a government right now. They really don't. They don't have a military. So the war's over. The shooting's not over. The military operations, as the president put it, are not over. We've still got it. If we see something dangerous that pops up and is a threat, we're in command of the skies. We're in command of the water. We take it out. We're still working on getting the Strait open. The whole international community's in on that. That'll get worked out. This is the cleanup phase. You go in and do the heavy stuff. We've taken out their whole apparatus in less than, I think the end of that was at about 17 days. Now we're at about 24 days. And we're in control of the whole sky, the water, everything that's not on the ground. There have been some developments on that today, too. So on the ground, we find out the Israelis have intelligence that's coming into them from the Iranians, from the Iranian people, that are able to give them precise GPS coordinates, and they're picking off these IRCG police and people that led some of the slaughters during the protests. They are systematically taking out the street level thugs that were abusing their own people. And so the squeeze is going from the bottom up, and it's come from the top down with our military, and we're squeezing toward the middle, and now they want to talk. The people that are left want to talk, and so they're talking. So what the president said today, and I was watching to see if the markets react. I guess they don't have enough specificity for it to go up too high, even though it did tend to tick up. He says he doesn't trust these people, okay, that he's talking to. That goes back to a Reagan-era doctrine when we talked about the Soviets. Many of you old-timers will remember trust but verify. Now, that was generally a refrain during those days when we were negotiating with Gorbachev and the like, that you kind of trust them, but you got to verify what they're saying. Along those same lines, Trump's not going to automatically trust them, but try to build that trust through getting them to do things. And in doing so, he said, and I'm quoting here, we may have the bite later. He said, they gave us a big gift yesterday. It just arrived today. Now, I thought it was the nuclear material. I thought that's going to be crazy. If they've got enough control that they could get their hands on that and hand that over to us, I didn't think that could happen that quickly. So that didn't seem plausible. So one of the reporters said, is it nuclear related? He said, no. And he didn't want to get into it, but he said, it's oil and gas related. They gave us a big gift. I don't know what that means. It probably means that if they've got any control over the Strait of Hormuz situation, that Trump said some of this oil floating around out there in those tankers that have been seized, we want that put on the market. We want those tankers moved. We don't want to blow them up. He's trying to keep the infrastructure intact and dislodge the threat to the Iranian people. And that's going to be a fence to straddle. But it's starting to happen. And he's got a lot of help. We're not alone in this. The whole region is in on it. In fact, there were some reporting today that the Saudis were encouraging Trump to keep going. The Israelis say they're not going to step off the gas right now. So it's going to be up to Trump to dial this down. The Israelis see the weakness and they want to just keep going after. They were doing most of the personnel stuff. But in partnership, in a weirdest way, you got the Saudi kingdom and some of the other Arab countries are saying the same thing to President. Don't quit now. We can't leave what I've heard described as a wounded beast that could stay alive. You've got to dislodge the administration. And that's not going to be as easy to do. And you're not going to do that necessarily with bombing. That's going to take the people on the ground, these people that are calling in the intelligence and moving this thing forward. Now, none of this is going to get reported on the mainstream networks. They're too busy looking for ways that this is a all-out endless war and somehow we're losing, which is absurd on the face of it. We're in completely control of this. The Iranians are down to holding the world hostage over the Strait, And that's how they started with a hostage situation, was it not? In 1979, when they didn't have a government, they didn't have missiles, they didn't have a military, they just had the ability to control the world through a hostage situation. It's the same mentality. And you can do that with some low tech, man. If you had a couple of speedboats with some explosives, if you've got hidden somewhere, or a missile silo we haven't found yet, or a drone that we don't know about, yeah, you could still take tankers out. It's going to take a while to smoke that out. So in the meantime, the leverage game continues, and Trump has somebody from Iran that he says has enough authority to give, quote, us a gift that's oil and gas related, and that that gift will be made known to the world soon. And it was, again, it's that verification process. If you're in a hostage, you know that y'all, we've all watched the movies, we've all watched hostage movies. Even in the Nancy Guthrie case, people were asking for proof of life. So with these people, we're going through Pakistan to do these negotiations. We're saying, all right, prove it to us. We'd like to have this by this afternoon. And it showed up, whatever it is, right? Maybe it was a tanker full of oil. Maybe it was something to do with nuclear. Who knows? But Trump let that cat out of the bag. And I think he did so. He knows how to play these people. That'll send the media coverage into a scramble. The market started going up. They were pressing up before he said it. Then they jumped up over $100 on the Dow. And I'm looking for oil. Oil's back down around 90. We're trying to get that back down around 75 or so. Considering all that's going on, I'm surprised oil at $150 a barrel right now. So you can sense that they have already priced in the threat as they measure output. And the price seems to have stabilized. It's not very volatile. It hasn't really been volatile. It's still high, but it hasn't been volatile in weeks, a couple of weeks. And again, this is only 24 days of this. I mean, here's what, okay, let me just get to this part. The 82nd Airborne, there was an announcement today that 82nd Airborne is going to send 3,000 people to the region. That's not unusual. We got bases all over the place. We evacuated those bases. And if you're going to keep the pressure campaign going, you've got to demonstrate to whoever's left in Iran that we're willing to put ground forces in the vicinity if we have to. That doesn't mean you do it. That doesn't mean they have an assignment yet. I can see a number of scenarios. A lot of people are questioning that. People do this pearl clutch and they turn into Fred Sanford, grab their heart and go, boots on the ground. It's an old vernacular from back in the Iraq war days. We've sent the Marine detachments to be in the area too. That could be to take Karg Island. It's not mainland Iran, but it's the chokehold on their economy, and gives a lot of, if we could secure it with a Marine force without trying to be the government in Karg Island, but if we could secure the facility so it can continue to load ships, the world oil supply pressure gets even better, because now the maniacs don't control it. We control it. The world can come get the oil they need. We're not even using this oil. It's all of it makes sense to me if you look at the longer game. But here's what and this is where I want to caution people in the audience. And I get it. There's some well-meaning people that they go to sleep at night wanting this whole thing to be over and wanting gas to drop back down to $2, and that's not going to happen overnight. But we're on that train. The world's going to be swimming in cheap oil very soon. Especially when you calculate Venezuela will soon come online, probably by the end of the summer. You know, there was a black market situation too. You get the Iranian oil freed up and the flow going out of the strait, and the lunatics are out of that region for the first time in 47 years. It's a new planet. It's a whole new planet. And that's worth the stress we're going through right now with the high prices. So let me just say this, and just, it's pretty obvious, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. The Iranians, without a military, and the only thing they have at their disposal are errant missiles and occasionally trying to flex on the strait and choke the world, and again, hold us hostage. They're counting, that strategy is based on that Americans don't have the will to fight anymore. Let's be honest, that we are consumers and we're self-absorbed and we're not as dedicated to our cause as they are. And if our gas price goes up and we have to pay another $1 a gallon for more than a week or two, that we're going to put pressure on the president and he's going to want to pull out politically, or that it will keep affecting our markets, or that we use the boots on the ground phrase and Americans don't want to see that. They're aware of this. They do intelligence here. They watch the news too. And they're counting on us not having resolve. They know Trump's got it, but they're counting on the American public not having it. And I'm telling you, we got to hold the line right now and show them that we're united in this. They must step down. There must be change. We've already destroyed a lot of their capability, but the decision makers are still rooted in there like a tough tree root that we got to dig out. And we're digging it, and they're eventually going to let it go. Things are going to get better. But we got to deal with this, man. It's not been but 24 days. The World War II generation sacrificed for years and lost tens of thousands of people to win that cause. And this is we're not even being asked to do that. The end of major hostilities is basically over. We're just trying to get this thing smoothed out and clean up and find out who's going to be running the place and have some say-so in that. And we should. And we're going to pay more for gas for a couple more weeks. That's fine with me. I don't know. I was looking at mine the other day and I saw the price shoot up. I don't think I've filled up since all this stuff started. Now, granted, I haven't driven as much the last 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes I get to commute from home, which is what I'm doing today. And I don't think I've been anywhere today. So we can conserve on our gas. There are ways of us to get around the budget hit by being a little wiser. But that is a tiny little minor sacrifice for watching our country free a region of the world that will eventually free generations, yes, of Americans. And we owe it to the people they wounded on the battlefields during the Iraq War, during the Afghan situation, all of the soldiers they killed in Khobar Towers and the Marine barracks in 1983, and on the USS Cole, the assassination attempts, and the other things this country has done to us for 47 years. We owe it to history to make sure this is done correctly and it's handed over under good hands. And I think we're on that way. It seemed Trump was loose today and very, very positive. And I was reading his body language and I thought, this thing, something big's about to be announced, and I love it. I'm waiting on it. I'm very positive this afternoon. Just trying to spread some cheer. I'm telling you. Now we'll get to the airport stuff because it's pretty funny what's happened with ICE today. We got reports on that and everything else in the news. Crocker Moving Services next up here on the show. Eric Crocker just runs an outstanding company, and I say it a lot. I don't say it enough. This company reflects him. I think a lot of small companies are a reflection of their owners. If the owner's a hard worker, the company tends to be productive. Sometimes you got lazy owners and quality goes downhill. Eric is a get it done, do it right kind of guy. His Marine training, I think, taught him to do that. And he leads by example. And I think when you're doing something difficult, like lifting heavy furniture and hiring strong young men to do this stuff, you got to be a leader. You got to lead them like you would in the Marine Corps. And that's what Eric does. He wants to take good care of your stuff, hire good people, and get it done efficiently, charge you a fair price, let you scale those services for what you need, whether you just have a big project or you're going to move a whole house full of stuff across the country. They can handle all of it. And he's a good man, good company. Leonard, all those guys over there that we work with, I've always appreciated them and how they've dealt with my moves. Y'all can do that too if you got anything going on this year, big or small. It's CrockerMovingServices.com, CrockerMovingServices.com. All right, y'all. All American Metal's ready to help you if you got your own building projects to do this year. I'm telling you, steel. Let me give you a little bit more of my backstory. When I decided to build a barn on my land at home, I needed a place to dry everything up, put my tools and my hobbies and my stuff, and I really wanted a classic old wooden barn. I grew up near barns like this, and I just thought it'd always be cool to have that feel. And I started investigating. Everybody I talked to, every single person I talked to said, "Man, don't build it out of wood." I had seen one in a magazine somewhere, and I had the plan. I got to found the plans for it. Everybody said don't build it out of wood, and so I thought steel was just cold and looked industrial, and that's not what I wanted on my property. But I found out in a hurry it cost 3 times as much, very very expensive, and the maintenance is a nightmare, and it just won't last like a good steel construction. I guess that's why they came up with some of the ways steel construction works. And what I learned was you can dress it up. I'd never heard of a barn dominium. I started looking at barn dominiums and I went, wow, you can do the core structure and get dried in out of a steel with the steel framing and the steel sheets, and then turn around and insulate it and do the things you want to do to make it look beautiful. I think my project turned out pretty nice. I got a good looking barn and it went up so quickly and it'll last forever. Steel construction is very affordable, cost per square foot, and it's very durable, easy to maintain, and the best in the business. And I'm telling you this, not just because they're advertising, is it's going to be our folks over at All American, and it's because they're fully integrated. I mean, they've got the whole process from the design work to building all the components. They own their factories. They make the components in their factories. They stock all the parts, the screws and the bolts and the stuff that holds it together. They even make their own little clips that hold the secondary and the primary stuff together. And they'll come in and deliver that whole building to you on their trucks. Even if you need a contractor to help you get everything out of the ground. And I'll tell you something else I realized, it still goes up in a hurry. The framing, the way it's pre-designed and engineered, it just goes up quickly. And then you're in your building before you know it. You're ready to do what else you're going to do to it. Let them help you with the design. The design part too is important. I wish I'd had a little more challenge to what I wanted. I just kind of figured it out myself. I probably would have done things a little bit differently if I had a pro to give me that advice, and they're so good with that. Y'all, 2 families, they go back to the 60s, total patriots, based out of Birmingham over in the Bessemer and sort of Hueytown area. It's All American Metals, aa-metal.com, aa-metal.com. All right, so there are 2 other things going on in front of the Senate right now. You still got the shutdown, which has turned into this hilarious thing online. Yesterday, Democrats, I told you they were trying to make a big deal that somehow ICE was going to go in and start shooting. I'm serious. Even Hakeem Jeffries says they're going to start shooting travelers in the airports and causing chaos. Well, you know what's happened today, and I hear the music playing. We got to go to the bottom. Is today everywhere ICE has shown up to assist TSA, the lines have dramatically gone down. Things have gone back to normal, almost normal, in Atlanta. And the worst place today was in Houston. Yesterday it was New Orleans. I think they're in 14 airports now, and they're starting to show up in more. They're helping people in line. And that gives the TSA guys more manpower to put at the screening machines where they're trained. And everybody's moving through. It's been amazing. They're handing out water. They're standing in line for people with no mask, standing in line so people can go to the bathroom. It's the biggest PR hit the agency's ever had. And people are high-fiving them and thanking them for just being there. This has been a cool thing. Back in a minute. All right, y'all, let's go. Let's go. Alabama Bass also bringing you the show tonight. Alabama Bass over in Pelham. Now, y'all can go see them or they'll come see you. It's either way. This company's been around. This family's been around doing this for 40 years, doing bathroom projects. And, man, they've just got the best materials, the best product, really, in that industry. And it's cheaper than their competitors. It's custom done by them. You're not going to get cheesy, high-pressure sales tactics. They're just going to deal with you straight. That's how Mike has run his company. That's what his family has followed with the whole team there. And so if you're dealing with any of them, Jill or John, they've all lived by Mike's example. And I love a 2-generation business where they're coming along and keeping things going with pride. That's who we like to deal with. A lot of our advertisers are like that. And the rave feedback that I get on Alabama Bass and how it improves a family situation or the safety of a bathroom just by getting that old janky tub out of there and getting something you can actually get in and out of that's not so insecure. Man, it's life-changing. Y'all reach out to them at Alabama Bass and let them give you an estimate and see what they can do for you. It's alabamabass.com, alabamabass.com. All right, let's go. I tell you what, I got calls coming in, and I'll do some early calls today. Let me get through this airport thing. So I showed up to relieve the TSA agents from being in parking garages like we saw yesterday, having to yell at people and keep them in line. That put more screeners at the screening stations so they could open up more lanes and then lets more people back in the airports. And immediately you had these series of reports. We played one for you last night out of Atlanta, which was a surprise. I thought this would go on for days, where wherever ICE has shown up to help, it's just a force multiplier. And they don't have to be in there doing the stuff that TSA specifically screened to do, like or that they're trained to do, like looking at those x-rays and all those devices and what they're trained to look for. ICE doesn't have time to ramp that up, but helping the public organize the lines. So what has happened is you went from, and I'll play you a little short clip, and this is one of the milder Democrat criticism, but Schumer is just, man, the cheese slipped off his cracker a long time ago. They've tried to vilify this agency because this agency is a threat to them in a lot of ways in the next election. They're deporting their voters. They're so afraid that ICE is going to be a deterrent at the voting polls for illegals to show up and vote anyway, even the ones that haven't been deported. And by the way, the deportations, the whole of Homeland Security took a different PR effect, and they're now just quietly flying people out of the country. In other words, a 737 took off in the wee morning hours today out of Minneapolis. Remember how chaotic Minneapolis was? The Trump administration had to pivot because they realized they were giving the blue-haired crazy lesbians and the Subarus an easy target by setting up chaos in the streets. That's what the left needed, were those optics. So they just withdrew from doing it very publicly, and they're continuing to make the roundups. They loaded them on a plane. They're gone, instead of the Biden administration flying these people in. And the numbers have gone from 600 or 700 deportations a day. I'm reading that we're at 1,100 now, which is a step up in the pace. You now have a new Homeland Security director. So those operations are continuing. Wisely, the Trump administration and Homeland Security is taking a lower profile. You don't have to be a cowboy about it. Just get the job done. Get them out. And they're doing it. And they've even found some people in the airports while they're working the airports. But the irony here is, while the Democrats tried to paint them as untrained thugs that didn't know what they were doing, what we're seeing at our airports are human beings. I mentioned it before the break. They're handing out bottled water. There are a couple of them standing in line so people that have been standing there for hours can go hit the bathroom and come back and get their place. They're just making it easier. The public's thrilled. There have been comments coming in from everywhere today about the airports where this is happening have gone back to some semblance of normalcy. The lines are still long, but they went from 4 hours to 45 minutes in Atlanta just yesterday. So it worked. And it flipped the Democrat narrative and their talking points and their imagery that they want to paint for this country on its head in terms of this one agency and who these people are. These are patriots. These are good people. They're law enforcement type people that take the job because they want to serve and help people. That I sit in some high paying, crazy job where you're going to get rich, and it's difficult no matter what you're assigned to do. And they deserve our respect, and they're getting it. And to me, I saw it when I was watching some of the clips today. One of the things that struck me was like, well, it's about damn time these ICE agents also got thanked in public. So you got regular people pulling suitcases behind them, pulling those travel bags behind them, walking up, shaking their hands, high-fiving them, thanking them for being there, giving commentary on the news that they appreciate ICE's help, thanking the TSA for their job that they do. TSA it's a confrontational job, man. You're dealing with an ignorant public. Some of them are kind of got attitude too. It's always a little bit hostile, but now they've been appreciated more than they ever were. This is good stuff. So here's a contrast. Here's Schumer, and then I think it was maybe a CNN reporter having to report, or a local reporter having to report. Listen to the contrast. Just listen to this contrast.
Trouble follows. We've seen that, and it is highly likely the airports will be no exception. No one trusts that ICE is going to make things better.
Once again, ICE agents have arrived here in Philadelphia, but I do want to point out this is an empty line right now. We are standing in the middle where travelers come to check in for TSA. Yesterday, this was all the way back to the garage. So good news today, lines aren't too bad.
Short bus Hakeem Jeffries, man, this dude. I don't know who I have the most contempt for on their side right now of the words they choose to use in public. I don't know. Maybe the people that do like him are just that gullible and will listen to what he says. But he literally evoked the image that ICE would be untrained and go in and start pulling their guns and shooting people in the airports, that they were going to bring chaos and fights and disruption. And all they did was smooth things out. And it's been a good day to watch. And, you know, good for the people that are having to travel. I was thinking about yesterday, we talked quite a bit about, you know, I wouldn't even go to the airport if I didn't have to. And I wouldn't if it's a vacation or a flight I don't have a choice of making. But I was thinking about my family. I've got a flight coming up in a couple months. I have to be at an event, a family event, and I got to fly. People are like that. They got to go to a funeral. Somebody died. They got to go to things other than even just a business meeting, which might be done on a Zoom call. They have life things going down, and the airport's their only way to do it. And now there's some relief at these airports while these a-holes in the Senate get their stuff together. Now, let me talk real quick, and I see you over there, Ed and Kevin. I'll go to you, but let me get one more thought out so we can get going on the phones. There's something you need to watch for in the Senate. Last night, there started to be this concept that through the reconciliation process that they would be able to vote on both the SAVE Act and reopening Homeland Security with 50 votes plus J.D. Vance. And that they could get around this Democrat logjam on both. And I understand that. The math does work that way. Reconciliation, but it's called budget reconciliation. It is a way you can take a certain bill, and if you can apply the rules there where the filibuster doesn't apply, then the filibuster's not a factor, and it can go through. So you've got Senator Kennedy, for one, pushing this. There was some action today to move forward, try to move both of these efforts in that direction. But here's the catch, and I was doing some background research today, and here's the catch on that whole concept. The idea that a bill can pass on reconciliation, trying to say this as simply as I can because you can get in the weeds on parliamentary procedure, that has to be interpreted in the Senate by something called the parliamentarian, okay? So that's actually a job. This person's appointed to do to interpret the rules to decide what applies. So the parliamentarian, and here's where everything is going to go to hell. This is back to Thune. I'm going to try to explain. The parliamentarian in the Senate is a woman named Elizabeth McDonough. Elizabeth McDonough is a left-wing kook. The job is supposed to be nonpartisan, and she was put into this position by Harry Reid. Usually the majority leader gets to pick the parliamentarian, and they usually try to find a fair-minded person. And so this McDonough lady gets installed as the parliamentarian. Follow me here. By Harry Reid back in 2012. Remember Dirty Harry? Thune had an opportunity when he became majority leader to replace her. So did McConnell, by the way. They didn't. They served at the pleasure of the majority leader, and Thune left her in place. She approved every time the Democrats, when they were in charge and they wanted a reconciliation vote rather than the normal process, they wanted to squeeze it through under that rule interpretation, she let them have it. But she repeatedly has blocked Republicans over and over on some very, very key stuff. She tried to kill the One Big Beautiful Bill in her authority, in her position, Thune let her stay. The EV mandates, I was thinking of some other stuff that has come up where this came down to a parliamentarian interpretation. This Elizabeth McDonough is, in other words, this concept that they're going to get it through reconciliation has to go through her, and I don't trust her either. I don't trust her anymore, and I trust Thune or McConnell or the rest of them. These are establishment people. They're trying to block this bill any way they can. And I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I really hope they can pull this stunt off. There's always a catch in the Senate, and it's a body that is designed where one person can have a lot of power in the Senate. It's a smaller body. They've got rules that are designed that one senator can just about block anything. That can work in our favor sometimes. In the past, Jeff Sessions, when he was our senator, was able to hold up amnesty several times on his own without the help of the rest of his party. And he bravely did so. Sometimes it works, and we kind of want a government that can't run over us too quickly. But to have a choke point like this, especially somebody that's not operating in a nonpartisan way, in a nonpartisan job, I think this is going to be the catch, and y'all need to watch out for her name. I bet it starts to come up in the news in the next few hours and days while they explore this reconciliation process. All right, let's hit the phones like I promised. We'll start with Kevin on line 1. Kevin, what's up?
Leland, I love everything that you say. We ought to clone you 200 times and spread you all over the country. You might could change some of them blue states.
Look, if you could clone me, though, I'd get more work done at home, that's for sure.
Now, Kevin, here's my comment and question. After World War II, did America or did America not help to rebuild Japan?
We did in Europe, but not as much in Japan.
That's true. Thank you. Now, here's my comment. Over there in Iran, those people are so indoctrinated right down to kindergarten to hate America and to hate Iran that it's going to be tough to get them pointed in the right direction. They're going to have jobs. They're going to have income. They're going to have see, all those military people been getting their paychecks from the Ayatollah. They're going to have paychecks from somebody else. And so they're going to have to be taught how to be capitalistic.
All right, stop right there. Stop right there. That's a little incorrect, and let me correct myself, too. We did help Japan. I had to look it up. I knew we did something. I didn't know what we did. We did send $2 billion in aid after we hit them with the 2 bombs. By today's standards, that's a ton of money. But it wasn't the rebuilding that we did in Europe after World War II, for sure. Europe was a natural ally, but we felt obligated to help Japan. Secondly, the Iranians are very much capitalist people. They're educated, very sophisticated, very Western oriented, and they've got a huge population of people that instantly get it and won't need to be trained at all. This is not
That's wonderful
Iraq.
News.
Yeah, these are not Iraqis. News. This is not Afghanistan. Afghanistan is not even really a country. It's a pile of rocks. We were in there trying to form a government with tribes that hate each other. It was never going to work. Very unsophisticated cave dwellers and goat humpers in Afghanistan. Iran's a completely different place. They descended from a massive empire and had great wealth. As I heard somebody say today, I think it was Trump that said it was a country of poets and mathematicians. And it's why they've been able to build and keep up with this nuclear, build their own nuclear programs and engineer missiles and drones that we're having trouble with. They're very sophisticated people. They were held by the throat with these mullahs at the top that thought God was giving them the right to punish them and institute Sharia law. And they want to be free of that. But we've got to remove the threat on the ground as well. And I think what you're going to see is a burst of freedom and partnership in the region. If you ever get the regime dislodged, then that's what's being worked on.
So you believe when we get all of the bad guys out, the good guys are going to instantly take over and not allow another bad guy to rise to the top?
Well, that's what I hope, and it's because of the lessons they've learned. I mean, there are people old enough, if they're anybody my age left in the country, most of their population's under 35, and they've only heard stories about when their country was free and prosperous, and they yearn for that. But their grandparents' generation, which would probably be me and people older than me, and their relatives that were exiled out of the country, are very much willing to do that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to, A lot of things could stop that, but I think the will is there, the majority's there, and the capability's there. And I'm very optimistic for them if you can just remove these thugs that are threatening them and shooting them, especially the women. If you just would do some reading on Sharia law, how they treat women
Oh,
as
my.
second-class
Oh,
citizens,
it's
and how
awful.
abusive they are toward women
It's awful.
and every other ethnic group. You got liberals here in this country waving Iran flags. I mean, they literally will kill you. It is an instant death sentence if you're found to be homosexual. It just is.
Well,
It's what Sharia law calls for.
I've got one more comment question, then I'm going to let you be. It's my understanding that all the information the citizenry gets over there is from state TV, I guess, and state radio. Can we go in and wipe out their established TV and radio and set up mobile units that preaches the truth?
A lot of that has already happened. What's really been a huge factor, we took out, they had a whole division of their military that was their censorship wing. They had this massive facility that was throttling the internet and blocking access from the people there to Western news, and also blocking us from getting stories from the people on the ground. But Starlink has been a game changer because people can set up these dishes in their windows temporarily, get access to the internet, and get things in and out. So word's on the street. They're very much plugged in, not as much as we'd like, but and none of them believe their own regime in terms of the propaganda. They are very aware of that. It's not as closed a society as North Korea. We're not dealing with North Korea here.
Well, that's all good news. Maybe we got it headed in the right direction. I appreciate you for everything, Leland. Keep preaching.
All right, Kevin. The Iranians are much like the people, not the government. The people are much like the Cubans and the Venezuelans in that they once had a thriving country that was toppled by these ideologies that ruined the country, and they want their country back. The Iranians want to be Iranians again. They don't want to be underneath these mullahs. The Cubans want the Castro regime finally wiped out. We're moving in that direction too. They want to be like Florida. They want to be able to get on a boat and go to Florida and come back and have tourism and commerce. Right now, they don't have electricity. What was funny was a group of Code Pink jackasses and some American communists that are afraid it's going to fall there somehow made a trip down there to tell. They wore like expensive rings and sunglasses, like $700 sunglasses, to go in and lecture these impoverished people on how no, communism's great. I mean, they really did. Code Pink went in there and threw some party, and it shorted out a whole neighborhood that had gotten their electricity back on. They're idiots. These people are idiots. They're going and lecturing the Cubans on how great their system is while the Cubans are fighting for their lives right now and resisting their government. Similar stuff's going on in Iran. Venezuela has quickly embraced all this stuff, and they're moving positively in a good direction on every front in Venezuela right now is going well. That didn't take anything but removing one thug. We got his ass, and everything changed. All right, thanks, Kevin. Man, I got to hit the break. Here we go. All right, Alabama Dental bringing you the show tonight. AlabamaDental.com. That's Dr. Brian. That's his whole team. He's my dentist. He's my friend. And I want y'all to go see him if you need a new dentist. Maybe you don't even need a new dentist, but you don't have flexible hours at your dentist, or you like a practice that's a little more comprehensive with 4 specialists and hours as late as 7 o'clock and Saturday hours and all that. Man, they can diagnose and treat just about anything under one roof with those flexible hours, and the kindest people in the world. I enjoy my dentist. Not many people can say that. Y'all make them your dentist too. It's alabamadental.com, alabamadental.com. We'll be back in a minute. Leland Live. Man, we give gifts all year long. We do, and we buy ourselves things too. Sometimes you ever just like YOLO something, decide you want to get it, and you get it. That's Allen and Company. There, if it's fine jewelry or anything in that world, you need to get to know the Thompson family. You get custom work there. Allen is a master jeweler. His whole team it's his family, and because again, I'd make this point a lot with our advertisers. When you're two, three generations in a business, and that's your family name on the building, and you want to treat your customers right because that's what you've always done, that means a lot. These are people that are invested in the business in more than one way. And so that's what you get at Allen and Company. You get the Thompsons, you get everybody there in terms of helping you pick something out, giving you ideas, giving you good selection. And even in the area of repairs and upgrades and cleanings and that routine stuff you got to do with this stuff, you can take it by there and know that it's going to stay there. The work's going to be done there. They're going to work quickly, get it right back to you. You got to do that service work. Sometimes those things need cleaning or tightening or chains broken. And then, of course, with design work in the gift giving season for Mother's Day or Easter, or we got graduation season coming up, y'all think about Allen and Company and do something nice to commemorate these special times in our lives. Over in Vestavia on Highway 31, it's Allen and Company, Allen and Company. All right. Is Ed still there? AJ, we'll grab another call, and then we got to grab this top of the hour break, and we'll come back and give you some new stuff. Ed, what's up, buddy? Hey, man.
Hey, the airports were the new southern border, the Democrats thought. Why they fought it so much. And all of a sudden, when the ICE showed up, it went away. And in a few weeks, they'll come out and tell how much travel spiked into the airports. Once they get in the airport, they're here. And that's what the plan was.
Well, I guess that would be arrivals, but a lot of this are, departures and domestic flights and people just trying to get through the system.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's right, trying to get through the system. But when they offboarded, they were free. They was gone because the TSA wasn't enough of them to do the job they've been doing because of the other people coming in. And it was a planned thing. It'll come out in a few weeks. Just wait and see. And it failed on them, and that's why they're so mad and telling them all they're going to shoot them. So have a good day. Appreciate the show.
All right. I'm not sure if we understand the roles there. If you're coming in internationally, you're going to go through customs anywhere. You're going to go through the customs agency, and they're going to vet all that stuff. I think that system's still there. Anywho, it's all it's not all better yet, but it got better with this move that the Trump administration did, and good on them. I mean, some people are there to cause problems in Washington and run on the chaos. They just are. Both parties, actually. Some people are just problem solvers by nature. You just look at a problem. Let's do this. Let's fix it. And that's what they did. Back in a minute.